In our village Njalobe, the wind always feels strange before something big happens. That morning, the wind was fast. It moved through the trees, made the doors shake, and made the dry grass dance. It felt like the wind was trying to say something. I was sitting outside, helping my grandmother peel cassava, but my mind was not on the work. My eyes kept looking at the stone circle near the big hill. That's where the ceremony would happen. That's where Kaya would forget everything. Everyone said the ceremony was a blessing. They said it was an honor to be chosen. Kaya would forget her pain, her past, even her name. She would become a Vuma, one of the village protectors. The women said she would start a new life, clean and peaceful. But in my heart, I felt scared. Kaya was not just a girl in the village. Kaya was my best friend. And after today, she wouldn't remember me at all. Kaya and I grew up together. We were friends since we were 5 years old. She was brave. She always laughed loudly, even when others told her to be quiet. Her eyes were sharp like a hawk, and she always asked questions. She once climbed a mango tree during a storm just to prove she wasn't afraid. And she never made fun of me, even when I started limping after an accident. "You walk like the wind is following you," she would say, smiling. That was Kaya, full of life, full of fire. But now, she was 17, and today was her day of silence, the first step before the ceremony. In our village, when a girl is chosen for the Vuma path, she must stay silent for 1 day. She is taken to the herbal hut near the river. The old women give her a drink made from roots and leaves. She is not allowed to talk or see anyone. They say it helps prepare her mind to forget. After the day of silence, they perform the final ceremony. When the girl comes back, she's different, quieter, colder. Her smile is gone, and she remembers nothing. I had seen it happen before. 4 other girls from the village had gone through it. They returned like shadows of who they used to be. Good at helping, kind with the elders, but empty, like their hearts had been taken away. And now, Kaya was next. Everyone was happy. The women danced. The elders smiled. My aunt even said, "Your friend is lucky. She has been chosen by the ancestors." But I didn't feel lucky. I felt like something was wrong. That night, I waited for the sun to go down. I knew Kaya was inside the herbal hut. I knew I wasn't supposed to see her, but I had to. Just one last time. I walked quietly through the tall grass, making sure no one saw me. My leg was hurting, but I didn't stop. When I reached the back of the hut, I knocked on the wooden wall, 2 soft knocks. That was our old signal. I waited, then I heard it. A soft voice. "Silo?" Tears filled my eyes. She still remembered me. I opened the door a little and stepped inside. The room smelled like herbs and smoke. It was dark except for one small clay lamp. Kaya was sitting on a mat, her hair loose, her eyes sleepy. She looked tired. On the floor next to her were small cups of tea and crushed leaves. "You came," she whispered. "I had to," I said, sitting beside her. "They said I must forget everything tomorrow," she said. "Even you." "Do you want that?" I asked. "I don't know," she answered. "They say I'll have peace, no more pain, no more fear. But what if I don't want to forget you?" Her hand reached for mine. It was shaking. "You won't forget me," I whispered. "I'll remind you." She smiled a little. "Promise me, Silo. If I forget, you don't forget me." "I promise." Then we heard footsteps outside. "Go," she said quickly. "They must not see you here." I squeezed her hand and slipped out the back. The next morning, the whole village gathered at the stone circle. The sun was high, and the air was still. Even the animals were quiet. Drums started to beat slowly. The women danced in a circle. Then the elders came, followed by Kaya. She was dressed in white, walking slowly, her eyes looking at nothing. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. She didn't seem to see anyone. The head priestess, Mama Iku, came forward. She carried a bowl, with smoke rising from it. She sang an old song, a song only the elders knew. Then she covered Kaya's head with a white cloth. Everyone waited. The wind stopped. The drums went silent. Time stood still. Then Mama Eku lifted the cloth and said, "It is done." People clapped and cheered. Kaya stood up. Her face was calm, blank, empty. I wanted to cry. She started to turn to leave with the other Vuma women. But then, she stopped. I looked up. Her eyes searched the crowd. And then they found me. Our eyes met. And then, in the quietest voice, she said just one word. Silo. My name. She remembered me. I couldn't sleep that night. Kaya said my name, in front of everyone, after the ceremony. That was not supposed to happen. Everyone said she would forget everything, even herself. That's what the ceremony did. But she looked straight at me and whispered silo, like nothing had changed. My body was lying in bed, but my mind was spinning. The wind outside was soft, but every small sound made my heart beat faster. I kept thinking, how did she remember me? Why only me? I wanted to ask someone, anyone, but I couldn't. The Vuma girls were not allowed to speak to anyone for 7 more days, and people in the village didn't like questions. Questions were considered dangerous, especially questions about the ceremony. Still, I had to know. The next morning, I walked around the village, listening to what people were saying. Most of them talked about how perfect the ceremony had been, how peaceful Kaya looked, how honored her family must be. A few even said, she'll forget all her pain now. One old man said, it's better not to remember. Some things are too heavy. No one mentioned what happened at the end. No one said anything about her saying my name. It was like they didn't hear it. Or maybe they didn't want to hear it. That made me even more afraid. I went to my grandmother, Mama Yai, hoping she could tell me something. She was very old and didn't speak much anymore, but sometimes she said strange things that turned out to be true. I brought her water and sat beside her. She looked at me with tired eyes. Nana, I said softly, do you remember when Mama Eku became a Vuma? She nodded slowly. I was a girl. Did she forget everyone? She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered, some things are not really forgotten. They are only hidden. I didn't understand. What do you mean? But Mama Yai had already closed her eyes again, sleeping, or pretending. That night, I went to the edge of the village, near the sacred hill where the ceremonies happen. I didn't know what I was looking for. Maybe a sign, maybe a feeling. The wind was stronger there. The trees swayed like they were dancing. I stood there, just listening. Then I heard footsteps. I turned quickly. It was Kaya. She was walking alone, dressed in white, like all the Vuma girls. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked different, like they were searching. She didn't speak. She just walked past me. But as she passed, she let something small fall near my feet. A folded piece of cloth. I picked it up quickly, hid it under my shirt, and walked back home like nothing had happened. When I opened the cloth, my hands shook. Inside was a red bead necklace, the one I gave Kaya when we were 9. She wore it every day. She once told me, I'll only take this off when I forget who I am. So why was it in my hand now? And why did she still remember? The next day, I did something I was never supposed to do. I went to the abandoned hut behind. The herbal house, the one where the Vuma girls stayed before the final ceremony. It had been locked for years, but the door was weak. I pushed it slowly. Dust flew into my face. It was dark inside, but I could still see old mats, broken pots, and empty bowls. In the corner, I found a wooden box with strange carvings on it. I opened it, expecting nothing. Inside were letters, many of them, some old, some new, all written in the same handwriting. I picked one and read, "To the one who remembers, if you are reading this, it means the ceremony didn't work on you completely. You still remember pieces. You still feel the truth. They lied to us. The ceremony is not a blessing. It is a prison. We are not chosen. We are silenced. I don't know my name anymore. But I remember love. I remember my brother's voice. I remember the way the river sang during the rains. And if I remember that, then I know I am still alive." I dropped the letter. My heart was racing. My skin felt cold. These letters were written by girls who had become Vuma, girls who were supposed to forget everything. But some of them remembered, just like Kaya. The ceremony didn't erase them, it buried them. I took 3 letters with me and ran back home. I hid them under my mat. That night, Kaya passed by my window again. She didn't stop. She didn't speak. But she looked at me, and I understood. She was trying to remember. She was fighting to remember. The next day, I saw Mama Eku standing near the river. I had never seen her so close. Her skin was full of wrinkles, her eyes deep and still. I wanted to ask her, "What are you hiding?" But I was too afraid, so I followed her instead. She walked past the trees, deeper into the forest, to a place I had never seen before, a hidden path behind the sacred hill. I stayed far behind. She reached a small shrine made of stones and bones. She knelt, and then she spoke, not a prayer but a command. "Keep them quiet," she said to the air. "Bury the past. Let no one remember." The wind around her moved fast, sharp like a knife. That night Kaya came to me again, not as a ghost, not as a stranger, but as herself. "I remember everything," she whispered, "but I have to pretend I don't." "Why?" I asked. "Because if they know I remember, they'll erase me again. For real this time." After Kaya whispered, "I remember everything." I didn't sleep for many nights. She came to my window almost every evening, never staying long, always moving fast, always quiet. She wore the white clothes of a Vuma girl. During the day, she looked calm and gentle, walking with the others, serving the elders. But at night, she was different. Her eyes were sharp again. Her voice had strength. The real Kaya, the girl I grew up with, was still inside her. We talked in the shadows, behind trees, near the river, or under the fig tree where we used to play. Each night, she remembered more. The mango tree, the songs we used to sing, the time she hurt her foot climbing the school roof. But she also remembered things from the ceremony. Scary things. There were voices, she told me. Not the voices of the women. Different ones. They spoke in the old language, the one no one uses anymore. They didn't speak to me. They spoke into me. "What did they say?" I asked. She looked at the sky. "They said I was chosen because of my blood, because of something passed down from long ago." That made no sense to me. "What do you mean, blood?" Kaya shook her head. "I don't know yet, but I feel something pulling me to the hill, to the place where they did the ceremony. I think the truth is hidden there." I was scared. We were just 2 teenagers in a village full of old secrets. The Vuma were respected, and the ceremony was sacred. If anyone knew Kaya had her memory, if anyone knew we were talking, they would silence me, she said. Not with tea, for real. I swallowed hard. "Then we'll be careful." That night, we made a plan. We would go back to the sacred hill, Not during the day, but at night, when everyone was asleep. Kaya said she had seen Mama Eku go behind the hill to a hidden place, and she believed the real secret was there. I think that's where the ceremony started, not just for me, but for all the girls before me, she said. We waited 3 nights. On the 4th night, the moon was low and the air was thick. I met Kaya near the well, and together we walked barefoot across the field toward the sacred hill. The village was quiet. The drums had not played. Even the goats were sleeping. We walked behind the hill, careful not to make a sound. There, just like Kaya said, was a narrow path covered in vines. We moved them aside and stepped into the forest behind it. It was darker there. The trees were older, the air colder. We followed a winding trail, lit only by the moonlight slipping through the branches. After a few minutes we saw it, the stone door. It was low to the ground, built into the base of the hill, hidden behind bushes. The stones were black and rough, with carvings in a language I couldn't read. Kaya ran her fingers over them. "I've seen these before," she whispered. "In my dreams." The door was heavy, but we pushed together. It opened with a deep creak. Inside, the air smelled of dust and something sweet, like old flowers. We stepped into a tunnel made of stone. The walls were narrow. Our shoulders brushed the sides. The ground sloped downward. After a few steps, we saw light. A soft red glow coming from the end of the tunnel. We reached a round room. In the center, there was a pool of water, dark and still, glowing faintly red from small lanterns on the walls. Around the pool were wooden masks, bones, and cloths just like the ones used in the ceremony. But the scariest part was the carvings on the walls. They showed women, Vuma girls, kneeling beside the pool, surrounded by shadows with long arms. And no faces. The shadows were pouring something into the girls' mouths. Kaya's hand grabbed mine tightly. "What is this place?" I whispered. She didn't answer. She walked to the pool and stared into it. I followed, and then we saw them. Faces, floating in the water. Dozens of them. Not real faces, but images. Girls we had seen before. Girls who had gone through the ceremony. Their faces were still, eyes closed. And then, slowly, their eyes opened. They looked at us. They were alive. I pulled Kaya back. "Let's go, now." But she stood still. "This is it. This is what the ceremony does." "What do you mean?" "It doesn't erase memories," she said. "It traps them. In here. It pulls the real girl out of the body and keeps her in this place. That's why the Vuma girls come back empty. Because their minds are locked here." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So how did you escape?" I asked. She looked at me with sad eyes. "I didn't. Not completely. I think I'm still connected to this place. That's why I remember, and why I forget again." Suddenly we heard footsteps. Fast. Heavy. Someone was coming. Kaya grabbed my hand and pulled me into a corner. We hid behind a stack of old cloths. "Mama?" Eku walked in, alone. She knelt by the pool and began to hum, a low, slow song. Then she said, "Another girl tomorrow. Another memory added. The ancestors will be pleased." Kaya looked at me, her face pale. "It never stopped," she whispered. "They're still doing it." The truth hit me like a hammer. This ceremony wasn't a blessing, it was a trap, and now we knew. Kaya and I couldn't unsee what we had discovered. The room under the hill, the faces trapped in the water, the truth behind the ceremony. It was never a gift. It was a cage, a place where memories were stolen and hidden. Kaya's memory was only half free. The rest of her, the part they tried to bury, still lived in that dark pool. The next morning, I looked at her across the village square. She was with the other Vuma girls, helping to carry baskets to the elders. She moved slowly. Her face looked calm, peaceful. too peaceful. But when our eyes met, I knew she still remembered. A tiny nod. That was all she gave me. But it was enough. We knew what we had to do. We had to go back. And we had to free the other girls. That night, we met behind the well. The moon was high and the wind moved through the trees like it was watching us. Kaya held a small bundle of herbs, and I carried a pot of burning charcoal. We remembered the carvings, the pool, the song Mama Eku had sung. Somehow we would break the spell. The path to the hill felt longer than before. The shadows seemed to whisper. But Kaya didn't stop. She walked like someone on a mission, like her soul was calling her forward. We opened the stone door again and entered the room beneath the hill. The pool was still. The faces were still there. Girls we knew, girls the village had forgotten. Kaya stepped closer to the water. "I can hear them," she whispered. I listened too. The room was quiet, but I felt something deep in my chest. Like a heartbeat. That didn't belong to me. Kaya began to hum the same tune Mama Eku had sung. But this time, she changed the words. She didn't speak the old language. She spoke names. One by one, she said the names of the girls who had been taken. Some names I remembered. Some I had never heard. But with each name the water shimmered. The faces opened their eyes. A soft wind began to spin in the room. Then the wind spoke. "You are not meant to know. You are not meant to free them." It wasn't Kaya. It wasn't me. It was the voice of the hill itself. The ground shook. The water rose in the air like a slow wave. The faces twisted, crying out, not in fear, but in hope. Kaya didn't stop. She shouted, I remember everything. You cannot keep us here." She threw the herbs into the fire. The smoke filled the room, thick and white. The water boiled, the walls cracked, and then silence. When I opened my eyes, I was alone. The room was empty. No pool, no carvings, no faces, no Kaya. I screamed her name, but only the echo answered me. I searched for her for days. I walked through the forest, called her name in every corner of the village, asked the elders, begged Mama Eku. She just looked at me with cold eyes and said, "Some memories are too dangerous." I wanted to break everything. But instead I waited. I waited for the wind, and days later, it came. One evening, I sat under the fig tree where Kaya and I used to rest. The wind moved through the leaves, and I heard it. Silo. It was her voice. Soft, clear, alive. She had become part of the wind, just like the others. But unlike them, she wasn't trapped. She was free. Kaya had done what no one else could. She broke the spell. She opened the door. She gave the forgotten a voice again. Now, when the wind moves through Njalobe, people say, "It feels stronger now." I smile, because I know why. Kaya is still here. She remembers, and so do I.